in your pursuit, in your wanting to be the best Natalie, have you ever hired an expert, a coach?
No. Which is one of the mistakes I think a lot of us make, is we don't get help. We don't create support structures. I never, ever hired a coach, a career coach, an executive coach, nothing of the kind, a therapist, nothing. There were budgets. I had PAs. I mean, I had dog walkers. I had people doing a lot of things, but nobody in the inner circle. But what I did have is I had mentors and I had friends. And most of my mentors, which I think is really good advice for anybody, no matter what industry you're in, is most of my mentors were people who were not in my space. The most wonderful mentor I've ever had at the peak of my corporate career was a woman who's Puerto Rican and who is from New York, born in Puerto Rico, grown up here, and she's an opera singer. She's a world-class opera singer. She started her career when she was 30. She quit her job as a elementary school teacher, I believe. And then at 30, she decided, I always wanted to be a singer. And she went and she applied and she got a full ride to Juilliard, married with 2 kids, second career. And then the second career was amazing. She lived in Europe. She sang with Plácido Domingo. I mean, world-class opera singer. And she gave me the best advice ever. I remember I always have a hard time starting over. I start over a lot, but every time I start over, it's really hard. I always think it was a fluke the last time, and I don't know if I can do it again. And she said to me that you are the source of your own supply. And she said, use it as a mantra. Like, go to sleep at night, wake up in the morning, whatever. You have doubts, you worry. Just remind yourself, you are the source of your own supply. And that's my mantra. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't had coaches, but I've had really great mentors. And it's best when you have mentors who don't come from your space, I think.
So, since you mentioned Puerto Rican, and I mentioned Puerto Rican.
And we have some Puerto Ricans in the house.
I want to give a shout out to my Puerto Rican grandson and granddaughter. Because I have a grandson, and I have a granddaughter, and I have a Puerto Rican son-in-law. So my daughter did create a Puerto Rican family.
I want whatever you're drinking.
So,
Grandma.
How many times did you start over?
I have no idea. I have no idea. More times than I can count. I've lived in nearly a dozen countries. I've been involved in a ton of companies and ventures, even right now. I moved to New York. I quit my career so that I could go to Columbia and pretend to be a student for a couple of years. And now I'm starting this thing with Athena at Barnard. I mean, I don't know. I think I probably started over at least a dozen times and kind of reinvented and started over from scratch. The last one was the hardest. The last one was the hardest, though, because I decided I wanted to live more simply. I got rid of the house, the Harley, the car, the everything, like all the toys. Moved to New York, simplified. No income, pay for an Ivy League school. Jesus. Yeah, so I don't know. I think that once you do it enough times, though, it gets easier.
I'm only upset about one thing. You gave up your Harley.
I did. I did. I sold it to a woman who was even more petite than I am. It was great.
My father was a motorcycle racer at some point in his life before my mom said, no way. And it's been my dream to get on a motorcycle, but first of all, I was worried, like, what if something happened to me and I break my leg? Who's going to take care of my daughter? You know, that happened for many years, and then, you know, who's going to do this and who's going to do that? And now, I'm a grandmama.
Who's going to ride a motorcycle soon, I think.
I think my grandson and my granddaughter is going to get the Harley, and I'm going to get on the back. I don't know, but I'm really upset that you give up your Harley.
I'm not. I'm the source of my own supply.
Yes, you are. So my next question, and I know I have a really good one here. When should a person, in your opinion, give up?
I wasn't expecting that.
You know, take the ego out of the thing. You know, when should we give up?
On businesses, on relationships, on careers, whenever it starts to feel like you're not growing anymore, but on yourself, never. And I think that's the balance, right? Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key is relationships even. I mean, as soon as something starts to feel like you're not learning and it's always going to be hard, things that are worthwhile are always going to be hard. But I think we all know intuitively in our guts, we know the difference between hard, I'm learning, hard, I'm growing, or hard, I'm just exhausting my batteries and I'm not getting anything out of this, or this is turning to the point where it's hurting me. So I don't know. I think the key to knowing when to give up is having a really, really good idea of you and making sure that you're not sacrificing you for the relationship, you for the business, you for the career, whatever.
So this is a question I don't have anywhere here, but I think it's an important question for, you know, all of us as women and gentlemen. How much has community of friends, family, people that you meet, how much has that helped you in overcoming your obstacles?
Huge. I mean, it's even like in the case of the guy in my story who I had kidnapped from his home. That's a part of the community. That's another human being whose humanity ultimately changed the course of my life. So whether it's the community that you choose to be your family, whether it's your actual blood family, I just think that, you know, we're humans, we're social animals, and we're defined by the people around us. So I think that it's got to do with everything that I've done. And I also think that now, especially as a business person working online, I mean, the internet is all about collaboration. It's all about social networks. It's all about communities. So I think that that's another reason why we need more women entrepreneurs, because women are great at building community. Women are great at building bridges, and the businesses of the future are going to be about building communities and building bridges, not about killing the competition. Because there's plenty of people who know how to do that, and look where it's gotten us.
So how do you help others grow now?
So you're catching me on my 2-year selfish hiatus. But what I'm doing at Athena is it, right? So I selfishly, I think, started this project thinking, well, I want to leave a legacy. I have this opportunity to work with this amazing woman. Her name is Kitty Colbert, and she is the attorney who was the litigator, the one actually on the floor arguing the case with Casey versus Planned Parenthood. Who's the Planned Parenthood person? Hi. Yes. So Kitty Colbert was the attorney who we can all thank for saving Roe v. Wade. She's the reason we have it. And we work with the UN as well, with the Global Shorts and the Film Festival. She's an amazing human being, and the idea that I could even work with her on a regular basis was enough. But in the process, through getting to know her and getting to know these women at Barnard, I fell in love with them. I fell in love with these amazing young women at Barnard who are brilliant and who are accomplished in their own right. And starting this whole project and trying to get them to become entrepreneurs and to get inspired, I'm getting inspired. So technically, this is how I'm giving back. Technically, I work with young women. I teach them how to be entrepreneurs. My baby right now is a summer camp. It's a 10-day summer camp that will happen at Barnard this summer in July. And it's designed to help young girls, high school juniors and seniors, 10 days with some of the most amazing entrepreneurs in the country, if not the world. And they're going to be locked in Barnard campus for 10 days with these women, and they're going to learn how to be entrepreneurs. From cooking up a business idea. Yeah, it's amazing. I designed basically the camp that I wish that I had gone to when I was that age. And then I made a wish list of all the rock stars that I wish would teach the classes, and nobody has said no. Everybody has said yes. So it's great. That's my baby right now. And again, I do it because it's what I want to do and it's what inspires me, and I hope that it'll help. But in reality, I'm getting so much out of it as well. So.
Absolutely. I think that even though we make huge sacrifices in life sometimes, you make that big leap, you bungee jump into your own life. And sometimes when you make that decision, not knowing where you're going to land or if you're going to land, so many doors open up. It's like truly incredible, but you have to do it. You have to take that plunge. And I'm hoping that part of what Wonder Women will help bring you is that greater desire to want to take that plunge, that greater desire from talking to others, like Natalie, like myself, like other incredible women in this room who are making a difference, to take that chance because we can all do it. It's really hard, but it's really important. And it's really easy once you actually make that step. We create things in our minds and we build a picture of what something is going to look like. 9 out of 10 times, we're wrong when it's attached to pressure and failure. And many times, we don't know the strength and the Wonder Woman that you have in you. Every single one here has a great potential. You already know it. Some of you are already doing it. And we have so far to go. Natalie, is there anything else I didn't ask you you'd like to add tonight?
Based on just what you said, I think this is something that I see a lot, is when you read, especially just in my world, in the business world, when you read about, right now, for example, the Sheryl Sandberg Lean In thing, every headline of every article that's intended to help women is the 10 mistakes women make in their career, the 5 things that you do to sabotage your career, the 4 things that you do wrong when you go and negotiate your salary. I am so tired of hearing the things we're doing wrong. There's a study that came out recently, and I can't remember the name or where it came out of, but I'll follow up. And it's a study that had a negotiation class. And negotiation classes, if you've ever taken them, they happen where they structure it like a game, right? And they make you go through a negotiation game, and then whoever negotiates more out of the deal wins, right? That makes you the better negotiator. And what they did is it's a co-ed group of men and women, and they separated the group into 2. And they had one group get a pep talk, basically, that said, okay, to be a good negotiator, you have to be a good listener, good at collaboration, empathetic, right? All of these things that the women in the group really identified with, like, oh, I'm those things, so I must be a good negotiator. The other group was given another pep talk, and that pep talk was, in order to be a good negotiator, you have to be aggressive, you have to not take no for an answer, you know the drill, right? Few of the women identified with those skills. And then they ran the exact same exercise. And the women, or in the group where they got the pep talk around being good listeners, the women far outperformed the men. And in the other group, the men far outperformed the women. Same group, same rule, same game, same everything. Which I guess you could extrapolate a lot of things, but to me that tells me that if we tell each other that we're good at what we're about to do, if we walk into the room being told, you already have these skills, you're already a good negotiator, you were born this way, we will outperform everybody else in the room. And every time we read these headlines that say the 5 things you do badly and the 10 things that women never do right, and women write these articles, it's women with their heart in the right place, women that are trying to help other women, but that rhetoric and that way of thinking is just tired and old, and I'm sick of it.
And I'm sick of it too. And I think many of you tonight are pretty sick of it, right?
Yes. Yeah. We all need happy pep talks.
And it's not just about that. It's really about how can we change what's been going on around us, and how can we, in our lives, I have a great inspiration that it's very difficult. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I brought my daughter here, and we did things pretty much the hard way. But how do I change that story? And how do my grandson and granddaughter grow up in a world that's going to be different? It's going to be what we are doing here today, because each one of you are going to leave a legacy behind. You're not thinking that. But every single person here tonight, you are leaving a legacy of yourself behind. You could accept that or not, and it's up to you to embrace it and decide when you get up tomorrow, how is your story going to change? Because it is a story.